And we are live. Hello Facebook, hello Instagram. If you're online, then please join us. And once you joined us, give us a like, a thumbs up, just so there's a bit of interaction and people see that we are live. Yep, there's someone on Instagram, and we've got a few people now on Facebook. So yeah, just give us a thumbs up, a like, please. Hi Claudia, and put in the comments where you located. If you're in Australia, tell us what city. If you're outside of Australia, tell us what country, and also what city, if you like. So this is the beautiful Alexia, and Alexia, she's very brave, because she is the first person that we're doing a live consultation with. Yeah, so I have done hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 consultations within the last, over 5 years that I've been a migration agent, and but I've never done one live, on Instagram and Facebook. So congratulations, Alexia, for being so brave and being so awesome.
Thank you, and you too.
Yeah, yes, we're both very brave.
Yes, we are.
So this live, so people who have been joining us for the Monday lives know that usually, it's usually just me. I talk about a topic in regards to a visa type or an immigration topic. And then you can also ask questions, and it's quite interactive, and I encourage you to be interactive. Today is a little bit different. Today you are more the observers, okay? Because I want to give as much value as possible to Alexia as the client. But I also want you to get obviously value as well. But you're the observer, okay? And so it's like you're the fly on the wall, and you get us on video as well. So this is like a real consultation. It's a real problem, as in a real case, which I will be explaining very shortly. And Alexia has questions. Alexia feels like she, is at a point where she really, really, really needs help by professional migration agents such as myself. And so it's a very real scenario. And so that's why I had this idea a few days ago, or a week ago, that, hey, how about we do this live? How about you join us for our Monday afternoon live? And so this is the first one. So welcome everyone to our first live consultation. And even though you're the observers, so it's not going to be as interactive as the usual Monday lives. However, I want you to put your questions and your comments in the chat, all right? Because if we have time, maybe later on, I'm able to answer these questions. And also, I will definitely make sure that these questions and comments will be responded to afterwards, okay? So we see how we go in regards to time. So usually a consultation takes up to 1 hour, okay? So if you book a consultation with us, either with myself or one of my team members, then you get up to 1 hour. And that is usually sufficient. We see how we go today. It is quite a complex case, but I think it's perfect because this is just the reality. Because as we all know, immigration law is just very complex. COVID-19 has made it even more difficult for people who want, visas and permanent residency and so on. Okay, so keep commenting. Let me know where you're from. Hi, Vaja. I think Vaja, you're a raving fan. I think you have attended, or Jimmy, you have been attending all of my lives. Very, very grateful. Thank you so much for supporting us. And yeah, keep commenting and let us know where you're from. And and if you have, during this consultation, if you have any comments or questions, okay, I'm sure you will get a lot out of it. But first and foremost, I want to help Alexia to find solutions for her problem. Alexia, would you like to introduce yourself briefly to me and the audience?
Of course.
Great.
Hi everyone. My name is Alexia. I am from Denmark and I came to Australia 2.5 years ago on a working holiday visa. And of course I fell in love with the country and I wanna stay here forever as so many other people. So I actually started a cookery course and I have finished my first course and I'm about to start the second one in a week. But it's not my purpose. I don't really love it. So this is why I came to Manuela, because I hope she can help me to find another way that has a bit more interest to me. I already have an agent, but for me it wasn't the right match to help me. So I'm very excited about today and to see what's gonna come out of this. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Alexia. I need to practice how I pronounce your name, Alexia.
Yeah. Alexia.
Okay, because I think we're just so used to Alexandra or Alexander or Alexia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm used
Sorry, I have been pronouncing this incorrectly.
That's all right.
And I think your nickname is Sia, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like the singer, like
Yes.
the band.
Yeah.
Nice. Are they from Denmark as well, Sia?
I don't think so.
Okay. I like them. And I like you.
Thank you.
Okay. We love our clients. And we're always trying excuse me. We're always trying to, definitely be very transparent. So, we're not going to tell you, or I'm not going to say, this is your pathway, if I don't think this is actually really realistic. Okay? So my aim really in consultations today and always is to share my knowledge. And look, there may be questions or things that I don't know on the spot, because I'm not a walking immigration database. And as we all know, the laws are changing constantly and so on. And, I want to cover as much as possible. So should there be anything, you will definitely be provided with more details after the consultation. You will also be provided with a written summary, of what we discussed today.
Yeah.
So sometimes clients like to take the notes during the consultation. You can, but you don't have to really, because I will provide you with a written letter of advice. Okay?
Yeah, awesome.
With what we discussed, with the visa pathways, the requirements, as well as also the fees. So there's supportive services in regards to, say you're eligible for a certain visa, and then we explain to you, okay, these are our fees for that certain visa, and then there's also the government fees. So you know exactly what you're in for financially. Because as we know, immigration in Australia, there is a price tag to it. Yeah? Okay, are we ready? So we've got 15 people on Facebook and we've got 3 on Instagram. All right, and I see my friend Imo Udo, you from Nigeria, you made it to your life. You usually watch the replays. I'm really happy to have you all. And keep commenting, let us know where you are from, and let us know any comments. All right, okay, so this is now how I do a consultation. So the focus is really on Alexia. And so excuse me if I turn a little bit and not talk into the camera. That also gives me more focus on Alexia. And here, I'm not sure if you can see that, Instagram and Facebook, but I have my computer here. This is where I take notes, and this is also where I already have, my notes that I have from the preparation. So I will be using my my laptop, my computer, to take notes, as well as to look up things, because that's what I also do in face-to-face consultations, that I show clients actually where I find things. And because certain things can be looked up from anyone, because legislation is public, okay? So anyone can actually look up legislation. There is certain things like policy, for example, so we have access to the department's policy, and for that you have to be a migration agent. And for that you can subscribe or not, you pay a fee for it, it's $800 a year. to be able to access the legislation database, the policy database of the department. Okay, so Alexia.
Yes.
Alexia from Denmark. You currently 32 years old. You're turning 33 in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Which is exciting. So you're an Aquarius as well.
Yeah.
Like myself. And so you're currently on a student visa, and it expires on the 1st of January 2022. That's what I got from your from the questionnaire that you filled in.
Yeah.
But
I'm not really sure about the end date. I was just like,
okay.
Ish.
Okay, but it's not going to expire in the next few weeks or months.
No.
Okay, good. We have these cases as well, where sometimes people seek our assistance because, their visa is expiring very soon. And so you're studying cookery. Is it currently? So you've completed a Cert 3? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so Cert 3 completed, and you're now about to start Cert 4.
Yep.
And you meant to also study a diploma. Is that right? Or just Cert 3 and 4?
Sorry, can you say that again?
So there is a certificate 3, 4.
Yep.
And then there is also, after that comes the diploma.
Yeah,
Are you enrolled in all 3?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That is the typical pathway for a chef. Yeah. So Cert 3 completed. About to start Cert 4. Followed by diploma. Okay, and so your visa history, when did you arrive in Australia? Do you know? Roughly? Month and year?
I came on a visit visa first for 6 weeks. That was I left after the 6 weeks. I left in September, so 6 weeks backwards from September.
Okay.
August?
That was sometime in probably July, and late July.
Yeah.
What year was that?
2.5 years ago.
Yeah. So that was July 2018?
I think so.
Okay, 2018. Basically, the reason I'm asking that, it's just really, it doesn't have to be super accurate. I'm just trying to establish when you first entered Australia. And I understand, okay, so you came here on a tourist visa, then you left. And then you were in a working holiday visa for 1 year or 2? 1 year. Okay. And then you stayed and went from working holiday visa to student visa. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I'm asking when you first arrived in Australia is just to establish if you've been here for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. That is very important in regards to the genuine temporary entrant criterion. When you apply for temporary visas, because you've got to meet that requirement. So you've only been here for just under 3 years, and plus you had left in the meantime. So that, in that regard, there's nothing it's not a high risk in regards to the GTE. Okay, now the way immigration works is we look at, so unless it's obviously a family visa, but today we're looking at Alexia, and you would like to achieve permanent residency in Australia. You don't want to continue your cookery course because you don't like it, and so you definitely don't want to do this, and so you're looking for pathways to permanent residency. And we're looking at skilled visas, maybe employer-sponsored visas, and all the options except family visas. Because family visa is not an option because you don't have a partner, and you don't have family.
I have family, but they're in Sydney.
Okay, and what sort of family are they?
My dad has 2 sisters.
Yeah, so aunties?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, family in Sydney. And are they permanent residents or citizens? Do you know?
They've been here for so many years.
For so many years. Then they're at least permanent residents.
Yeah,
Sometimes people choose not to become citizen for various reasons.
Oh, yeah.
But there must be at least, if they have been here for many, many years, they definitely have PR. So that's good. Okay. So you've got 2 aunties. I say aunties. That's from the Northern Territory. We call everyone an auntie. So 2 aunties in Sydney. Any other family?
No.
Okay. Okay. So unfortunately, that is too far away to do something directly. Yeah. So when it comes to family visas, there's really only partners, children, and parents that can be sponsored. It used to be different, but like anything else, it's changed and it's become stricter. And so now it's just these 3. Having said that, there is, it can still help in certain instances if you have family, but it would need to be because you are here on the Gold Coast in Queensland, and not in Sydney. So if we would be looking at immigration in New South Wales, Sydney, then there maybe would be an advantage in regards to skilled visas, for example, because there is such a thing as family-sponsored skilled migration, okay? Because you can be sponsored either by a state or by a family member. So you're currently here on the Gold Coast in Queensland, on the east coast of Australia. Would you want to stay here, or are you flexible of going somewhere else?
I would like to stay here, but again, like it depends on the outcome.
Yeah.
If there's absolutely nothing to do, but I have options if I go somewhere south.
Yeah. Or what about going north?
Yeah.
I'm sending a lot of people up north.
But Darwin is like
it's hot.
I don't know about Darwin, but if I have to go to Denmark or Darwin, it's probably gonna be Darwin.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
That's a good. Alexia's mum is watching. What's her name? Lena, if you're online, can you give us a wave and let us know that you're here?
I don't know if she can do that. She's like not the best.
Not the best? Okay. Then maybe hit the thumbs up for a like, so we know. I'm sending a lot of people to Darwin, or not just Darwin, but Northern Territory, because there is just more visa options than anywhere else in Australia. Okay. But I have one option that also includes Darwin. Okay. Or I always say Darwin. When I say Darwin, I actually mean Northern Territory, because it's not just Darwin; it's like the whole of the territory.
Okay.
So Darwin, Northern Territory, that's kind of equivalent for me. Now, when it comes to immigration that we're looking at, we need to look at your qualifications and your work experience. So ideally, the ideal applicant in Australia has certain qualifications and then also certain work experience, and it's ideally matching up. And then it is exactly what is required for that particular occupation. So how we do the assessment is that we actually go backwards. So firstly, I try to understand what is your occupation. I look at your CV. So you sent me your CV in preparation for this consultation today. And I looked at your CV, and what I could see was you have, would you say you have a year 12 equivalent as to, when you finish school?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. Where's your CV? I'm just going to bring that up. Exactly. Oh, why is it small now? Okay, because you went to high school, the Vitra boarding school, 10th grade, and then you went to high school, business school. And so that is year 12 equivalent, so that's great. Yeah. Year 12 is the highest you can go in Australia as in regards to high school. And that's usually what you require to be able to access university, okay? And then it says here, trainee as merchandiser in sailing Aalborg.
Yeah.
As well as, was there some training at IKEA?
Not training, I was just proper working at IKEA.
Yeah, okay. So here the trainee as merchandiser for 2 years, what kind of training was that? Was it on the job, or did you attend a college, a school?
So after the 12th year, I applied for that spot in that shop,
Mm-hmm.
and I got it. So that means I have 2 years to work as a trainee, or what do you call it? So I'm not like officially one of them. I'm just training to be one of them for 2
Yeah.
years. So I'm
Yeah.
working full time, and then a few weeks, a year, I'm on the merchandising school,
Okay.
learning like all in about shop windows and decorations. But
Yeah.
then I go back to work as full time.
Yeah.
But as a trainee.
Okay.
So after those 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
I signed the papers, and now I'm a qualified visual merchandiser.
Okay, so you've got a certificate.
Yeah.
Great. So we have a similar system actually in Germany, where I'm from. And so in Australia, they call that vocational educational training. So similar what you do now with cookery, where you also have a time in school and then also a time, where you get practical experience. Now, I'm not super familiar with the system in Denmark and Scandinavia, but I'm obviously very familiar with the system in Germany because I went through this myself. And so I completely understand exactly what you did. And here in Australia, these kind of qualifications, they're getting recognized as diplomas, usually. So, but what happens is when we, so in case we need a skills assessment, for certain visas, you need a skills assessment for the visa process. And then we look at, what are the requirements in an Australian qualification? This is equivalent to what you did. So say we look at schools that offer that course, visual merchandising, and then we look at their curriculum, and we look at what subjects you study, okay? So this is very helpful because that was something that I wasn't sure about just from the paperwork, okay? And that's why we have these consultations, that we clarify things, that I'm able to ask you questions, and that helps me then also to assess the visa options. So that is already a big tick because I wasn't quite sure. So that's great. So you've got a certificate. So you're a qualified visual merchandiser. Can you explain to me and the audience, what is a visual merchandiser?
Yeah, so I work in different shops. So it's my job to plan the whole layout of the shop. So where to put everything so it sells the best. And the lighting, the areas you're walking on, they have to be a certain space.
Yeah.
All the signs and shop windows.
You decorate the shop windows?
Yeah, also,
Yeah. So you decorate in the shop and then also shop windows?
Yeah.
So you pretty much set up a whole shop?
The layout for everything, like where to put everything so it sells the best.
Yeah.
Customer flow and
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's your qualification. So we've got year 12 and we've got a certificate in visual merchandising. And that was we call that in Germany a dual system with like school and practical experience. So dual system, I'm just making a note here so I remember dual system education. And that was for 2 years, did you say?
Yep.
2 years. Great. Okay. So yeah, like I said, that should be equivalent to a diploma. Now, do you remember what month and year did you complete that, roughly? We can have a sneaky look at your resume.
Summertime in Denmark.
Summertime in Denmark, so that's like July, and what year?
Maybe August.
August.
I would say.
Trainee. Here we go, 2009.
Yeah.
So August 2009?
I think so.
Okay, August 2009. The reason why I'm asking that, and it's very often, especially because this is now like 12 years ago. 11 and a half years or something like that. More than 10 years ago. The reason I'm asking is, it is from when you finish your qualifications, it's then considered to be post-qualification work experience. And that's what counts, okay? So you need to have the qualifications and then the experience that you have afterwards. That's what counts towards visa types, towards points. For skilled visas, you have to get points. So that's really good. So far we're traveling really well. So far this is going better than I thought.
Okay, that's good.
It's really good. It's always, you know, like when you have like the low expectations and then, you know, because I wasn't sure, so that's great. So I'm just going to make here equivalent to diploma. So I have here work experience, visual merchandiser. So in your, again, I took your resume where it said here IKEA, visual merchandiser, 2010 to 2013. Yep. Was that 3-4 years, would you say, or?
I think it was 3-4 years.
Yeah. And did you work full time?
Yeah.
Okay. So so completed. Do you remember when you left? When you left that to go to the next one?
Yeah, straight, like same.
Yeah. But did you leave that job same December or?
No, I think that was like October.
October.
I think.
So October 2013, you left that job. Okay. And then it says you went to just a different IKEA.
Yeah.
In a different location, but it says here recovery, co-worker, merchandise sales. Do you remember what does it say in your employment contract?
Recovery, co-worker.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
But did you also do the work of a visual merchandiser, or
Yeah.
was it? Yeah.
They hired me because I had that skill, and they needed that for this department in IKEA.
Yeah.
But my job was like a recovery co-worker,
Yeah.
the name. But then I just had the extra skill they needed.
Yeah. Okay.
So on paper, I wasn't a merchandiser for those years. Not on paper.
So, what's a recovery co-worker?
So you know, I don't know if you've been to IKEA, but
I have. Of course I have. We love IKEA.
Yes.
In Australia, in Germany.
Yeah.
When I lived in Darwin full time for 7 years, there is no IKEA in Darwin.
Oh.
That makes life really sad.
Yeah. No.
Especially when you move as much as I do. But no, love IKEA, and I know IKEA. Yes.
Yeah. So like, right before you exit IKEA, before you pay, there is like either left or right, there is a shop with everything that is further discounted. So either it's expiring, like they're not gonna sell it anymore, or it has like some kind of scratch on it, or the displays they had to change. So I was in there trying to, you know, make it look pretty.
So you were basically only responsible for that recovery section, not for the whole IKEA?
No.
Okay. So I'm just gonna take a note here. Recovery co-worker, responsible, and that was for 5 years. Was that responsible for one recovery section? Okay, but were you also? So you were doing sales, but were you also doing the, you know, the decorations?
Yeah.
So you were doing that as well. Does it say that in your position description from back then?
I'm not sure, actually.
Okay, so you were doing sales plus decoration. Decoration. Great. Okay, so now we have clarified your qualifications. So you have something equivalent to a diploma in visual merchandising. And we also clarified your work experience. So you've got 3 years as a visual merchandiser, and you've got 5 years as a recovery co-worker, sales and decorations. Okay, so now with that knowledge, and so what I do now is I look for occupations that match that profile.
Okay.
Okay. So we have the skilled occupation list. And I did send you the link to the skilled occupation list in preparation for this consultation today. And you already selected a few occupations that you would be interested in. Okay. In fact, you actually had quite a few.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you also listed was you said you actually really enjoy visual merchandising. And you could imagine to do that as a career and as a occupation in Australia. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, excellent, great. Because I'm always trying to give you as many options as possible, and I also explain, the time that it involves as to, would you have to go back to college or uni and study a certain course, the money that's involved, and yeah, so all the necessary things that you need to know to make a decision, okay? And then it's essentially really up to you. So ideally, you have more than one option, and you will have, after, this consultation, you will have more than one option to choose from, but it's really up to you as to, how much do you want to further invest. So the best way, really, the fastest and most affordable way is to stick with what you already have. And I mean, you have a qualification in visual merchandising, and you also have work experience in that field. Okay, I mean, so you haven't worked now in that field, in that occupation. When did you leave? So when did you leave? When did you leave the recovery co-worker position at IKEA in Denmark? So it says 2018.
3 years ago.
So was it January 2018?
Yeah. No, March or April 2018.
Yeah, March or April 2018? Okay.
Yeah.
March, April 2018. It only needs to be roughly, because we get all the proper details once we start the process, okay? So now in the consultation, it's just for me to know, okay, how much time is in between finishing that job and now. So that means, yeah, roughly just under 3 years. So that's good, because for example, skills assessments, you need work experience within the last 5 years. And you do, okay? So, like I said, the fastest way is to really work with what we have. Okay. But if you say, my heart is set on, for example, childcare, because you put childcare down, or my heart is set on, what else did you put down? Just having a sticky beak. Exercise physiologist. Okay, if you would say, I really want to do that, that is something really, really new, and you would need to start from scratch. So you would need to start from, getting your qualification, getting work experience, and so on. It is definitely possible, okay? And especially because you're only 32 years old, so technically, you could do it. You just need to invest the time and the money to get there. But there's definitely, if you start from the very beginning, new career, like migration agent, that is my, 5th career in my life. I've done other things before. So if you choose to, you could do that, okay? And I can also explain to you how we can achieve it, and then maybe you can think about it. Okay, just gather my thoughts.
But
Okay.
is it on the list for permanent residency?
What is that?
This
The visual merchandiser. Okay, so visual merchandiser. So that occupation is not on any list, as in, because I sent you the link to the skill occupation list, and when I also searched for visual merchandiser, and so I wasn't able to find that. But what I did find was interior decorator.
Yeah.
And that's why I needed some clarification what a visual merchandiser is. And I mean, I did some research, some Googling, but I want to clarify with you what exactly is it that you do, because that is what's essentially also asked by immigration. They're asking you, okay, because okay, for certain occupations, chef, for example, it's pretty straightforward what you do, right? But then for other occupations, it can be a bit more vague and can require a bit more explanation. So I found interior decorator, and so that is currently on the list, and I can show you.
And it does not require university.
So I'll show you exactly what we do. Okay, so this is the school occupation list.
Yep.
You can see the occupation is on the list. This is the ANSCO code. So this is, and we click on that link in a minute. This is where it defines the occupation, where it shows you what skills are required, what work experience, and what is an interior decorator actually doing, in case you wouldn't know. Then this one shows you the visa types that are available. It's actually only that one. So it's only the top one, subclass 494, okay, which is the skilled employer-sponsored regional provisional visa. So what that means is it requires an employer to sponsor you.
Okay.
And also you may have picked up the word regional, so it means it has to be in a regional area. Luckily, Gold Coast is regional, because that's the place where you want to be. You said you would like to stay here, but also maybe open to other options. So anywhere except Sydney, Melbourne or Brisbane is a designated area and considered regional. So you would be able to stay here. Here you see the list. It's on the regional occupation list. And this one, VETASES, is the Assessing Skills Assessment Authority. Okay, so this is what you need for the skills assessment. I will explain more. But firstly, I'll show you what's happening when we click on that link, on that hyperlink. Then you see the ANSCO definition. So ANSCO is Australian and New Zealand Standard Classification.
Yeah.
So every occupation has a definition, okay? And then so you see here, it sounds a bit odd because it says other miscellaneous technicians and trades workers. And then it can look a bit confusing if you're not used to it. Also because it's for Australia and New Zealand. Obviously, we're only focusing on Australia. But what you can see here, well, and that's another thing where you have to be careful, because even though it says here, it's a skill level 3, so all occupations are categorized in different skill levels. So skill level 1 is the highest, and it requires you to have a bachelor degree.
Okay.
Then skill level 2, diploma, and skill level 3, certificate 4, and so on. So it says here, certificate 4. And first I thought, easy, great, okay. But then when you scroll down, and then you see here, you know, they list other titles, other occupations, like, I don't know what diver is in there, but you see diver, you see optical dispenser. And then we're scrolling further down, and here you see interior decorator, and then you see plans the interior design of commercial or residential premises and arranges for decorating work to be done. So this is what the department thinks a decorator, interior decorator is doing. And see here, it says skill level 2. Yeah, so I already put this in notes here. So it requires you to have a diploma. So because skill level 2 requires you to have a diploma. And as we, so here I put in brackets RPL. Have you heard of RPL before? Okay. RPL is recognized prior learning. So for because I wasn't sure if you have a qualification. So for people who don't have a formal qualification but lots of work experience, and I mean in total you have like 8 years of work experience. So people like you, and I mean you have both, you have qualifications and work experience, but say you wouldn't have a qualification, you could then use your work experience and get a certificate for that. Okay? And sometimes depends on the occupation and what you did, the tasks and so on, you get the certificate straight away. Sometimes you may have to take a few subjects here and there to meet the full requirements to gain the relevant qualification. But so that's great. So you've got say, you know, equivalent diploma. And then what else you need, because so unfortunately that occupation is currently only on the regional occupation list. So that's what I always say currently, and that's why I like to do these things live, as to you know, show my clients on the screen what, you know, what we're looking at. So you saw now with your own eyes, interior decorator is currently on in the regional occupation list. These lists, they are subject to change. Yeah. So worst case scenario is it gets taken off the list, but that is really a worst case. Best case scenario is it gets moved to a different list, because there's lots of different lists available. Okay, so currently it's only on the on the regional occupation list, and the only visa type that is available is subclass 494. Subclass 494 requires you to be regional, tick, and you need an employer to sponsor you. You don't have that employer just yet. But look, I mean, Gold Coast is shopping, you know, a shopping, what do you call that? A shopping paradise. Have you started looking for jobs in visual merchandising, or?
I did a little bit, but I know because like that is what I am, and I knew before I started this education that it's super difficult to get that job because everyone wants it.
Yeah.
And even to get the training, there's only 2% that actually get the spot. So I was very lucky that I got it. So when I came here, my issue was that I was on a visa, so they don't want to hire someone on a working holiday visa back then. Because this is kind of like a long-term role.
Yes.
And it's hard because I know shops, small shops, they have to save money, so the first person to go is me, because I'm just decorating.
Yes. Oh, but it's so important.
Oh, it is. It's super
like
important.
It's psychology. It's you know, like I'm a victim of shop psychology. It definitely, you know, and that's.
But it's also like, for example, some shops, they have one for all the shops, for example, in Gold Coast. And then they have one for everyone down in New South Wales. Like they do it like that. So you see, it's one person for a lot of shops. Yeah.
What I always tell my clients as to, you know, when they're looking for work in the field as well as a sponsor, is really just really go to the shops, talk to people, submit your resume, look online on the online job boards. And the advantage of being on the Gold Coast is it's small, and you know, networking is definitely really good as well. And there are so many ways how you can connect with people and how you can find work. So if you put your focus on it, you know, what did they say? Where focus goes, or where energy goes, focus.
Where focus goes, energy flows.
That's it. That's it. Who's that? Dr. Joe Dispenza, I think.
Probably.
Yes. Anyways, so yes. So where focus goes, energy flows. Perfect. Yes. So I would really focus your energy on that. Okay, but basically, so these are the requirements. So you need to be regional. You have to have an employer to sponsor you. And then the good news is the 494 visa has a pathway to permanent residency. Okay, so how it works is, so you would be on the 494 visa for 3 years, and then after 3 years, you then apply for a 191 visa. They are new regional visas, but then you apply for the 191, and then you get your PR. So there is a pathway to PR. And I know you may not have expected, you know, that you have to find an employer to sponsor you. But this is only one option that, you know, I explained to you now. Now, what's also required is you need to have a better skills assessment. Okay, so for the 494, because it's got the pathway to PR, it requires you to have also not competent English, but your English is really good. Most Scandinavians
do. Test.
Yes, you need to do an IELTS test, IELTS or PTE. And you need to have at least a 6 in each band. Have you done an IELTS test before?
No.
Okay. Look, I definitely recommend to practice for it, but I think speaking with you and having seen your writing, I think you should be fine. It is achievable to get a 6 in each band, and you can practice for it. And you can retake the test as many times as you wish.
Yeah.
You can do it over and over again. So competent English with a test, and then the skills assessment. So the skills assessment, that is where you need to show your qualifications and your work experience, and that's going to be assessed by that authority, and then they give you a certificate. And this is the first hurdle, because you cannot proceed without the skills assessment. Okay. Yes, and so for the 494 visa, you need the required qualifications, and then you need 3 years post-qualification work experience. And that's why it's important. So you finished your qualifications back in 2009, and then anything after that we can count towards experience, as in relevant experience, okay, in interior design. And how we prove that is you would hopefully have your still some of your documents from back then. I know maybe that was a little while ago, but certain things can also be organized, fresh. You just need to make contact with your employer, previous employers. So things like work employment contracts, where it says the title of your occupation, and also there's usually a position description. So the employment contracts, pay slips, because work is defined as it has to be paid. And I assume if you worked in that field for 8 years, clearly, and IKEA is, And I know also Scandinavian salaries are quite good. So we said employment contract, we said pay slips, what else did we say? Work reference letters. So your previous employers, are you still did you leave on good terms, and would you be able to contact people that you used to work with, supervisors, managers?
Yeah.
Perfect, excellent. Because they can write a work reference letter. Okay. It's just really a one-pager where they just really kind of certify, yes, Alexia has worked for us in that time period as a visual merchandiser / interior designer, for example, an interior decorator, sorry. And just, listing your tasks, and so there's a format for it, and we have that template that we can, provide you with, should you decide to go ahead with that pathway, okay? We're still talking just about that one pathway. We actually have to hurry up a little bit. Like I said, I will provide you with a written summary, so it's all explained, and then, also after the consultation, you can ask questions, okay? Especially if you decide for one pathway, we guide you through it the whole way, okay? So I think I covered everything in regards to interior decorator. And look, we will talk about the other occupations, but essentially this is the model that is also applied to everything else, because essentially it's just the one model, and it's modified depending on the occupation, depending on what's required on skills. But it's kind of, I don't want to say always the same, but you always have to make sure that you have the relevant qualifications and work experience. And if you don't have either or, that's when we get really creative. Because then we have to figure out, okay, how can you either substitute a lack of or gain new qualifications, for example. So you said you would be open to study something else, okay? So this is what we're going to discuss now, going further in this consultation. First of all, I would like to ask you, and think about the question, because you're going to have 20 seconds while I'm actually closing windows, because the rain is a little bit noisy. And I'm not sure if it's impacting you guys with hearing us. Can you hear the rain? Is it impacting the sound at all? Can you just maybe put in the comments if the rain is making a difference? That's your mum. Hi, Lena. Hi. It's so cute. So just put in the comments, please, if you can hear us well. all of the rain is distracting and noisy. But either way, I'm going to close the windows because it's distracting me. And I want you to think about do you have any questions so far? 20 seconds? And I'll be back in 20 seconds. I'm just closing windows. You hold the fort. Okay. If we were in television, I would have had an ad break. Maybe that's something for the future, you know. Like once we have sponsors, we can do ad break. So yeah, I'm back. So any questions so far?
I don't have any questions. Only thing I'm a little bit worried about is the job title. If I'm required to have the certificate as an interior designer instead of a visual merchandiser, because that's higher level than visual merchandiser.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe
so that's a great question. First of all, also guys, if you watching this, and like I said in the very beginning, and maybe you joined a bit later, let us know your questions and comments. So put that all in the comments. We may be able to get to your questions later, as to once we have completed the consultation, or if we run out of time, because usually the consultation is for an hour, and I want to give Alexia as much value as possible because she's the client. But I will definitely make sure that we respond to your comments. So if you feel I'm in a similar situation and I have that question, or if you're just curious, it's also your opportunity to engage with us and ask your questions and make your comments. All right. So to answer your question, Alexia, here we go. So I prepared this earlier.
all right.
As I was, I'm very thorough.
Yeah, you are.
So what you unfortunately now can't see is I show Alexia on my screen, on my computer, the definition of VET-assess. So VET-assess is the Skills Assessment Authority for interior decorators, okay? And so basically, this is the homepage, and I found your occupation, and then again, it says here, I can send you that link, so you don't have to, read that everything right now. But basically, in a nutshell, because you have that, equivalent diploma, which we still need to, I'm not guaranteeing that. That's just from my experience that I think it could be equivalent to a diploma. And so because we have that, and then we have the 8 years, okay? And even though it's not saying, certificate or diploma in interior decorating, it says, for example, and where do I have that? I think that is, yes. So just give me one moment. Interior. Here we go. Okay, so what I'll show Alexia now also on my screen is, so VET-assess has a list of all the occupations that they're assessing. Okay, so this is where I get further information. So me as a migration professional, a migration agent, I don't know all these things by heart. I mean, doctors, lawyers, they don't know things by heart, but we know where to look, we know where to get the information, and that's where we get the value for our clients. Because, have you heard of VET-assess before?
Not really.
Not really? Okay. And even if, there's so much information out there. So now I'm just going to scroll up. Well, I already know the answer. Scroll. It's a group C occupation.
Oh,
okay, so they're classified in different groups. And what that means, here we go. If it says So there's different options, okay? So either you have AQF is Australian Qualification Framework. So either you have an Australian qualification or equivalent, okay? So with highly relevant field of study and at least 1 year of post-qualification highly relevant employment at an appropriate skill level in the last 5 years. Again, diploma with an additional qualification, at least a Cert 4 in a highly relevant field of study and at least 1 year of post-qualification highly relevant employment at an appropriate skill level in the last 5 years. Or diploma without a highly relevant field of study and at least 2 years of post-qualification highly relevant employment at an appropriate skill level.
Okay,
Yeah?
Yeah.
So basically, if your study is not super relevant, like interior decorator.
Yeah, there's different options.
Correct.
For the same
And
thing.
then instead of 1 year post-qualification, you need 2 years, but you've got 8, you know? So look, again, there's no guarantees. There's just never guarantees in immigration law. But what I would say, going with the interior decorator is really the fastest way to gain permanent residency. And what I also say, I mean, first of all, you have really an interest, you have experience. And I mean, I really think I already have this vision of Alexia decorating the shops on the Gold Coast, like Pack Fair and so on. Because, I mean, you work at IKEA. Everyone knows IKEA. Seriously, everyone. So this is, you know, and maybe we can do some work on your resume. There's, you know, because with resume, and I'm not an expert in resumes, but I mean, I have seen a lot of resumes, like probably, I don't know, thousands of resumes. So it, you know, that can be really important. So there's a lot of things that can be done. And look, with your skills assessment, I would say that would be my first recommendation. That's what we talk about this first. And that's what we talk about this now also for quite some time and in so much detail. Because the investment is really a skills assessment with VETASES. The fee is $968, so that's like $1,000. And then if you choose to use our services, we charge $1,900. You also get a credit of the consultation fees. Okay, so that's it's getting a bit cheaper, and you can pay that in installments. So that would be your investment. If worst case scenario, if it is not successful for whatever reason, and I'm quite positive, but again, no guarantees. But should it not be successful, should it be negative, then, well, whenever they decline, they give a reason, okay? And then we can either resubmit or we, you know, we just then know what was wrong with it. It's not, they just not, you know, decline and say nothing. So this is something we can work with. But essentially, it's not like a visa refusal, okay? A visa refusal, definitely, you know, avoid if you can. Because then you're Section 48 barred and then you can't apply for another visa in Australia and so on. Then things get really messy, really complicated, really expensive because then you have to go maybe to the tribunal to appeal the decision. With a negative skills assessment, nothing really happens. The only thing is that you lost the money and you lost the time. But and other than that, it's kind of a low risk thing. And I mean, this is something that you need to understand, of course, you know. But other than that, I think that is your best option, okay? So now I just want to also talk about the other options, just in case, because so Alexia, in preparation for this consultation, gave me like a long list of occupations that you have an interest in, and that's fair enough, you know, because I think it's always good to have options. So, I just want to also mention one occupation that I also found for you, which is quite similar, I guess, to, you know, because you kind of did decorating and sales. So I also found an occupation called retail manager. And it's as you can see here, it's super similar to interior decorator, other than obviously it has a different title and different tasks, different responsibilities. But it's also on the regional occupation list. VETASES is the authority. It's only 494 visa and it's Skill Level 2. So that's what I meant earlier. Sometimes it's just really the same thing. So I don't have to now explain everything again.
No.
Because it's honestly, it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's all the same. Even like with VETASES, it's a Group C occupation. Okay, but this is an occupation that I also have in mind for you, that we could look into. This is, I think we forget about that one because that was the first, because when I searched for visual, that was what came up, visual arts and crafts professionals, and NEC is no elsewhere classified. But if we just take that link, like when I read that, and I already had a little bit of an idea what a visual merchandiser does, I just found, see, it says create visual 2 and 3 dimensional concepts and forms through painting, drawing, carving, sculpting, modeling, printmaking, video, multimedia, found objects, blah blah blah. So it's just a little bit out there, and then it's got different titles, like alternative titles: painter, potter or ceramic artist, sculptor. It's not really fitting, is it?
No.
I thought I'm going to leave it on there just because it's got that visual, but it's not really a match, is it?
No.
Okay, there you go. But like, that's what I meant also by transparency. You know, I wouldn't want to withhold that from you just in case you're like, actually, yeah, I did some sculpting and carving, because who knows, you know? Maybe in a different shop, maybe, you know, you could get more creative and arty, but yeah, not in this instance. Also, as you see, that occupation is a skill level 1. So it's higher and requires you to have a bachelor degree. So, and because your Danish qualifications are only equivalent to hopefully a diploma, it's not enough for a bachelor. Okay, so here is Alexia's list. And basically, so it's all skill level 1 and 2 occupations. The majority of occupations is skill level 1, as you can see. Only the yellow highlighted ones, they are skill level 2.
Okay.
And again, skill level 1 means you need a tertiary qualification, which is a bachelor degree.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, so people online are dropping off slowly, but basically the difference is that with occupations such as dietitian or social worker, you would really need to start from scratch.
Okay.
So you would need to go to university, and I mean you can. You're young enough, as in when I say that, because the age limit is 45 for
but
most.
It's very expensive, right?
For most permanent visas, and yes, so studying in Australia, especially if you go to university, it is quite expensive.
Yeah.
So, well, expensive again is relative. You know, like some people, especially for people from the UK or the US or Canada, where people already used to pay for their education. But I know in Scandinavia, if it's still the case, it's free. So it was in Germany, and I happened to be an exchange student in Norway. That's why I speak a little bit Norwegian. So, you know, and I got my education in Europe for free. And when I went to the US to study, I had a scholarship. But anyways, yes. And one other thing that is important to know, which you already know, with a student visa, you're only allowed to work part-time. Okay. So yeah, as you can see, all the, you know, skill ones, you need a bachelor. And so skill level 2, but for example, a disability services officer, and I understand from your resume that you work a little bit in care, disability care. However, you don't have a qualification.
No.
And so again, this is something you also would need to start from scratch. It would require you to have a diploma. And same with, okay, so this one is, you know, the one that you, maybe we mark that in, because this is the one that we talked about, the interior decorator. Customer service manager, skill level 2, is also a little bit relevant to what you used to do, but I think retail manager is even better than customer service manager, because you did, it is retail, so it is a bit more specific. I'm just going through my notes here. So the 494 visa, we talked about that. It has to be regional, employer sponsored. So I really think that the first step is to get the skills assessment. Meanwhile, also do your English test, and also start looking for that, particular work.
So can I get the skill assessment while I'm studying now?
Yes.
Because I need to be in some kind of visa.
Yes, correct. So the thing is, and I know you don't like the cookery, but you need to obviously stay on a visa. And honestly, because this pathway, it all depends on, so the vet assess, for example, they have a priority processing. So the quickest you can get it is like literally in 2 weeks. That's a little bit more expensive. They charge you an extra fee to be quick. If you do it the normal way, so priority processing fee is $660 extra. So you'll be talking then around $1,500. If you have it the normal way, so not fast but just regular, it's around 2 to 3 months roughly. And so either way, you can think about that. I will give you an overview of the costs, okay, and then you can do the maths and budget. But basically, what's important is that you stay on your student visa and just carry on a little bit longer, okay. And I think it may be different once you have, because you came to me thinking, I have no other options. That's how you came to me. You told me, yeah, but I don't have skills. I don't have this. I don't have options. And look, ta-da! Bye-bye! Surprise! Options. And this is what I love about this work. That you have to look for these things. They're not just advertised on the department's website. Hey, Alexia, look at interior decorator. But one thing I want to also quickly mention, although it's not an option for you just yet, is state-nominated visas, okay? And the reason why it's not applicable to you is because your occupation, as you could see, was only for the 494 visa, because it's currently on the regional occupation list, yeah? If it would move to the what's called short-term strategic skills list or medium and long-term skills list, then you would be eligible, or there would be a pathway to apply for state nomination, subclass 190, subclass 491. However, for that one also, if you apply from onshore, you need to meet a whole lot of criteria. One of them is also to have relevant work experience onshore in the state, so in Queensland. Now, like I said, these things are all not applicable, and I don't want to confuse you too much. You look a little bit confused. I just kind of want to, kind of mention it, that this is just in case. Imagine, because like I said, these lists, they're changing, and sometimes, sometimes they move occupations to a different list, and if this would become available, and if you would meet also the other requirements, then that could be a good option, because what that means is state-sponsored visas means you don't need an employer to sponsor you, because you're sponsored from the state. Yeah? Okay. But like I said, currently, this is not an option. The word currently is one of the most used words that I use in consultations, because everything is current. Yeah. And okay, so we're talking about that. Look, I was prepared to talk about the 485 graduate visa, but to be honest, because again, it's not relevant to you, because with this pathway that we now found for you with the interior decorator, there's no need for you to go back to or change your course and study something. And I mean, I think this is also your preference, because studying, like we said, is expensive. You can only get part-time work rights. So once you have your, your 494 visa on the way, that's when you can work full-time. For your employer, of course, it has to be for the employer.
So if I get sponsored, do I have to work full-time, or is it also possible to work part-time?
Has to be full-time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've talked with some people the last few days. They said, no, I'm sponsored, but I only work part-time.
Really?
Yeah.
What sort of visas is that?
They were sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said, no, you have to work full-time. And they said, well, I'm not.
Okay.
That was the contract. And then they said, because that's the contract with the company. So if the company agrees, then it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, not really. So there is requirements from the department. Now, it's hard for me to say anything about these cases because I don't know nothing about them. I don't know who these people are. I don't know their occupation, their employer, and so on. I have that quite frequently happening in consultations where they say, yeah, but my friend has this, or, you know, the sister of my brother, or the sister of my friend has, you know, such and such scenario. What I always say is people don't always tell you all the details. People may be in breach. To me, honestly, at the moment, it sounds like they may be in breach, and maybe they know, maybe they don't know. That happens a lot. I don't recommend it. I do not recommend it for employer-sponsored visas, unless it's like there are certain exemptions when it's, for example, you know, certain occupations they can have exemptions. For example, seasonal work. So Northern Territory, for example, and Northern Australia has, you know, really extreme weathers. So certain occupations, they just don't work as much in the wet season.
Yeah.
For example, hospitality businesses, especially like outdoors venues, they usually shut, especially in December, January, when there's like cyclones happening. And so I've had these kind of applications, and they came through. But other than that, I would be very careful with that. So yeah, like I said, because with this direct pathway, you wouldn't really go on a 485 is not really relevant. But should you, for example, continue with your cookery, and I know you don't want to, and you won't have to now, but so this is a classic pathway: doing the Cert 3, doing the Cert 4, doing the diploma, and then going on to a 485 post graduate visa, so that you can gain work experience, because you get full work rights on a 485. Yeah, and this would also be relevant should you say, yeah, I want to study exercise physiology, for example, or I want to study law or medicine, or you know, something like that, or want to become a drug and alcohol counselor because that was one of your occupations, and then we could talk about the 485 visas. But this would be just such a much longer pathway, because you have to go to uni, all the Schedule 1 occupations, you've got to go to uni, and then you get from student visa eventually to graduate visa. But I also recommend, if you are eligible for something right now, and it appears you are, go for it. And especially if you would like to work in that occupation, it's not that you're like, oh, okay, I do it, but I don't really want to, but I do it, So, because God knows what's going to happen to immigration and skills list and visas in the future. There have been so many changes, and not for the benefit of migrants. So that's why we don't know what's going to happen. So what else? I've got the training visa, but again, it's not really relevant to you, because you could go, because the training visa is it's a great visa option, okay, for people who for example, have a qualification but no work experience, okay. So for them, the training visa is a great visa option, but you do have work experience, okay. But the training visa, for example, gives you full work rights, and like the name says, it provides you with training. So, but you also need to find an employer who is willing to provide the training to you. So it is like an employer-sponsored visa, but it's called training visa, and the employer is not your employer; they are a trainer. But it's there is a lot to it. So training visa is quite a complex visa, because you need a training plan, and so on. again, not really relevant to you at the moment with the pathway that we selected. And yeah, that's the end of my notes. So just to, and you can think of questions, and the people who are still online, then also, you know, think about your questions and your comments. And if you haven't done so, let us know where you're at, where you're located, in what city. I will now quickly summarize while Alexia is thinking about, you know, if you have anything else you want to ask. Like I said, if we finish this consultation and then, you know, tomorrow or next week you think, I forgot to ask that question, especially after you read my summary, then, you know, I'm more than happy to answer your questions or, you know, clarify certain things. Okay, so it's not like, okay, now or never.
Okay.
But just in case you now think already. So basically, what we did is we talked about your past in Denmark, pretty much. You know, we talked about, we clarified that you have a year 12 equivalent from high school, which is very important in regards to accessing certain courses. Then we established your certificate in visual merchandising that you got from Denmark back in August 2009, which we think may be eligible to be equivalent for diploma because it was for 2 years. Then we talked about your work experience and established that you have 8 years in decorating, sales, merchandising, and then I put all of this knowledge together and identified that the most suitable occupation for you is interior decorator. And then I went ahead and explained to you, okay, what visa options do you have? Unfortunately, fortunately, that occupation is on a list. It's on the regional occupation list, because sometimes occupations are not on any list, and then there's nothing I can do. I mean, for that certain occupations, but then obviously we look for alternatives. But this particular occupation is only on the regional occupation list, and the only visa type is the 494, the employer-sponsored regional visa with pathway to permanent residency. So this is, in my view and in my experience as a migration agent doing consultations, all positive. So going further, I explained to you the requirements. So it's a skill level 2 occupation, so that means you need a diploma and at least, well, for VETASES, you need at least 1 year experience. If the qualification isn't highly relevant, 2 years, but we established you've got 8. And even, you know, if VETASES would say, actually out of these 8, we only make, I don't know, we give you 6, because sometimes they do that. For whatever reason, they see overseas experience as less valuable as if you would have done the same thing in Australia. But even though, you know, that may happen, but you're still fine with your 8 years. We don't need, unlikely that we need RPL, recognition of prior learning, because you've got your diploma from Denmark. And I explained to you in detail the skills assessment process with VETASES, and you know how we can also assist you doing that for you, the application. Then the alternative occupation that I also found quite suitable, like next suitable, under interior decorator is retail manager, because you work in retail. It's very similar, skill level 2. You also need a 494 visa employer. Retail manager is maybe a little bit more general, you know, so you have, you know, maybe more options. Maybe you can even go for both, you know, like when you look for, so before we go into the skills assessment, or say, you know, when you apply for jobs, you can really look what's available, and sometimes it can be quite similar. So maybe if you find an employer, maybe he would need both, he or she, they may need both, you know, and so okay, we decided that the visual arts and crafts professional is not for you, which is a great example, you know, because this is how we this is how we really narrow it down, and this is where we really focus on, okay, what is suitable for you. We then talked about your other interests and the other occupations that you found would also suit you. And look, I mean, they're all really, really interesting occupations, and I know that you have an interest in health and business and so on. The thing is, once you have your permanent residency, you're free to do whatever you like. It's just really, getting there where it's like more restricted, okay? Especially with an employer-sponsored visa, you are obviously then, working for the one employer in that one occupation. But especially with you, you can really get there within 4 years. So in 4 years, you're 36. And then you've got still so much lifetime left to do what you want to do, as in... Well,
was it the sponsorship is for 4 years?
Well, so the 494 visa is for 3 years. And then remember, then you need to apply for a 191 visa, which is the pathway to the permanent residency. I can send you more information on the 191 and the whole pathway. In fact, we actually have an ebook on the new regional visas because they were introduced November 2019, so not that long ago, and it's still a bit new. But anyways, that's a pathway. 494 for 3 years, and then after 3 years, you can then apply for the 191, and then once you have that, you've got your PR. So that's why I said, with adding all the wait time that there always is. But look, in fact, the department is actually prioritizing employer-sponsored visas, especially for people obviously onshore, because they want to support employers and the economy. And especially once you have found that employer, and I know at the moment it may seem like it's like looking for the needle in the haystack, or, but honestly, put out the message, be really, have it like, it's like your job now. Spend each day, give yourself an amount of time, say an hour, something you can commit to, an hour or 2 hours, or even if it's 30 minutes, but do it consistently every single day. And look on job boards like Seek, obviously. Look, but are you on LinkedIn? Perfect, excellent. I'm on LinkedIn too. Let's connect. And also, make sure that I'm happy to have a look at your profile. Make sure that it's all about decorating, visual merchandising, interior decorating, and there is so many opportunities online. And just make sure that you spend half an hour or an hour each day and do that consistently, and you'll see it's also an exponential effect. Every day, obviously, you do more, and then talk to people, on LinkedIn, for example, make contacts on LinkedIn, go to networking events, especially here on the East Coast. We're so lucky, on the Gold Coast in particular, that it's a hub of entrepreneurs, business owners. I'm also, and that's not just you, Alexia, that's for all our clients, we're always happy that if we have any contacts, where we can contribute to your success, we're more than happy to facilitate contact. So I will also put my thinking caps on, and also we get phone calls every day, and inquiries. If I have someone who's looking for an interior decorator, I know who to talk to.
Okay.
So see it as a challenge, and this, for example, this live consultation, was a challenge, and now we're nearly at the end, few more minutes, but I'm feeling amazing because, and I hope you too, because I really feel that I was able to help you, and we were able to share this with an audience, and I'm feeling on top of the world now.
This is very different from the agent I have now, because I went to see him, and that's why I have the long list, because I saw him 3 times, and he said, chef is the only way for you. And then I said, what about this one? He said, no, this one. No, I just kept saying, what about this and this? And he just said, no to everything. I even took things I don't want, but I wanted more than cooking. And he's like, no, you can't do that. This is the only way. So this is very different. Very...
I'm glad.
Thank you.
I'm glad. So do you have any questions, Alexia? No questions. Wow.
Probably like and I'm
Yeah,
settled out.
exactly.
Like,
because I mean, we've been talking now for a while. Usually, like I said, it's only for an hour, but because we had obviously engagement with Facebook and Instagram, and I just want to make sure, like I said, that I provide as much value as possible to you. But yeah, if you have any questions tonight or tomorrow or next week or during the process, and especially if you decide to keep working with me, keep working with us, we're here definitely to support you and answer all your questions. And especially once you are a client, so say you would engage our services for the skills assessment, well, first of all, you can ask all your questions, but secondly, you probably wouldn't really worry about it because we do it all for you. But having said that, we also make sure that you are kept in the loop, okay? That you know what's going on, that we tell you, okay, we're now doing this, and then we're doing that, and so that you're aware. So for me, it's very important to be transparent with my clients, and that they're not, in the dark. And also, in regards to changes, they did say that they will update the occupation list in March, but we're now in January, so there's still time. But then again, sometimes they say March, and then, look, the thing is, we cannot control that, so I would say we just go with that, what we have, and I would also say to start the skills assessment process as soon as possible. You do not need an English test for the skills assessment, okay?
What happens, for example, if I do that skill assessment and they say, no, your diploma is not enough? Because that's the only way I have, like, from today. So do I have to book another consultation to know about the next option? Like, what was it?
So the next option was retail manager.
Yeah.
Look, so once you are a client, and you now are a client because you paid for this consultation and you even, agreed to be alive. So really appreciate that. And so once you are a client, we're more than happy to support you. Obviously, if, for example, you would say, I changed my mind, I want to do... I want to be a rocket scientist, example, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a nurse, something like that. That's a completely different pathway. So then I would say, okay, we need to do consultation because it takes more time. But if for example the skills assessment comes back, and like I said, this is worst case scenario, comes back negative, we certainly explain to you what happened. It's also written actually in the assessment why the officer has decided on that, and then we give you advice what we think we should do. Should we, because we can't just relodge it, as in obviously adjusting to whatever the feedback was, but yeah, so this is where we give you advice.
Okay.
So we always try to be as supportive as we can. Having said that, it is a business that we run. It is, a commercial migration agency, and it's all, it has to be also recognized that this is our time and our expertise. I like to just apply my common sense, and every client engagement is a bit different, and every case is different. So it's kind of really decided by me. I'm the boss.
Fair enough.
Because I have a team, and so these kind of decisions that they have to be brought forward to me. If I'm not dealing with the case directly, then it has to be brought forward to me, and then I make a decision based on really being fair to everyone, being fair to the client, being fair to my team because they also need to get paid, and also being fair to myself as a professional and as a business owner. So yeah, I'm trying to make it fair. Having said that, everyone's perception of fair is a bit different, maybe. But yeah, to answer your question, we try to be fair also in regards to our pricing. But I also know that, we're good and experienced in what we do. We're very thorough. We're very, I would have totally told you, and that's why I was a bit like, not sure. I would have I would tell you if I think that, you know, this is not a good option, or, you know, if you would say, I really want to do this, you know, I would really just be transparent and tell you the truth, you know, and that's why we have a high success rate, because we do these really thorough, detailed consultations and assessments. And, you know, like I said, you know, I showed you even, you know, look up everything. And then we established that. And so my assessment is that there's a high chance of success as an interior decorator. And again, no guarantees, but that's my recommendation. And you agreed to try that. And yeah, so because we do this thorough process, we are able to also minimize the risk. Okay. Having said that, sometimes we have clients, they say, even when we say that there's really high risk of refusal, as in skills assessment or other things, and they still say, yep, we want to go ahead. Well, essentially, it's a client's decision. Okay, so we're not making decisions. We're only giving advice and recommendations. And I also have the right to say no. You know, if you, for example, say, I don't care, I want to apply for, I don't know, you know, something crazy, exactly. And I would know exactly that this is like driving against the wall. You know, I would probably not do that because I find that unethical. And I would explain it to you. And yeah. Well, if there's no other questions, because of the time, I you know, recognize it's already 5:30 Queensland time. It's dinner time. And I see that we have comments here. Like I said, I will make sure that your comments, questions, and so on will be responded to. But I think for now, we will go offline. We finish this. And so, oh, thank you, Ella. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for watching us. We will also put this one on our Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, and not LinkedIn, but YouTube, and, you know, all the channels where we are. So you can watch the replay, watch the recording if you weren't able to attend live. All right. Anything else you want to say, Alexia?
I want to say thank you.
You're very welcome. Did you want to say anything to your Danish friends, to your mum? To your, something in Danish maybe? Do you speak Greek as well? Because you have Greek.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh my god, maybe say something in Danish and Greek, if you can. And I say something in German.
Ja. Hej mor. Tak fordi du lige gad at se med. Jeg håber du forstod det meste af det. And
in Greek?
I'm just gonna say in Greek, Yasu and Galanita. So hi and good night.
Okay. And I say, now I can make it more international with my German. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und wir sehen uns bald wieder. Ciao. Okay. Thanks so much, guys.